about the Five of Pentacles. So when we're looking at fives in the tarot, fives indicate a challenge of some sort, and depending on the suit, is going to be indicative of what that challenge will be based around. So because we're looking at pentacles, invariably that challenge is going to be around material aspects. So challenges within our home, our health, our finances, our material possessions. Invariably fives will come in when we suddenly find that we go in one day and our boss is like, cool, you're fired for whatever reason. We lose our house. We suddenly run into things like bankruptcy. We have suddenly get hit with like bad illnesses. These are all the challenges that the Five of Pentacles can throw up for us. So looking at the five from the perspective of its yogic philosophy, which is Raga. Raga is one of the Kleshas. Kleshas are what we call afflictions, things in life that cause us suffering. If we're translating the word Raga, it translates to attachment. Now, if we've explored the Four of Pentacles, we've explored the aspect of non-attachment or Aparigraha, and we've learned to practice non-attachment. However, if we don't get that practice right and we do cling and we do hold on, we're going to now move into the five and we're going to meet that challenge of what attachment actually looks like, and the harm and damage that that attachment can actually cause for us. So what does attachments look like? Let's use a very simplistic example. You find a new brand of juice in the grocery store and you take this bottle of juice home and it's the best tasting juice you have ever had. You're like, this is like the best thing ever. And so you go and buy more juice, and you keep a spare stock of juice in your fridge. And then you go back one day and the juice is gone. The person who makes the juice has decided, well, we're not making enough sales, so we're just going to take it off the market. So your reaction to that is then, I'm pretty like pissed off now because you've taken away my juice, you've taken away my source of happiness. And what we're actually looking at is an externalized version of happiness. When we seek happiness from external things, we're going to have a source of suffering because everything that's external is temporary. Nothing lasts forever. That company may close down. The ingredients that go into the juice may no longer be available. It may not be sustainable for that company to keep manufacturing that juice because maybe I'm the only one on the planet that's actually buying the stuff. So everything in life is temporary. So when we create attachments to external things, we're actually creating suffering because we're clinging to things that are outside of ourselves instead of seeking happiness and fulfillment from the inside, internal, because our authentic self is the only thing that is consistent, that's just never going to die off. It is a permanent thing. Everything outside of that is impermanent. So when we're clutching to all these impermanent things as sources of our happiness, clinging to the job, clinging to the relationships, clinging to the house that's falling apart around our ears, clinging to those unhealthy friendships, we're causing ourselves suffering. So sure, we may have short-term happiness, or what we call hedonistic happiness. It's short-lived. You know, we may find that because we drink too much of that juice, we develop an allergic reaction to one of the ingredients in that juice, and we actually start to form what we call aversion. And aversion forms one of our other kleshas that actually offshoots from the klesha of attachment. So when we have attachments and those attachments get taken away from us, we then form aversions, we form frustrations, we get angry, we're upset, why did you take my juice away from me? Or why am I now allergic to this juice? Like, what did they change about it? And our external happiness now becomes external unhappiness. Okay. So when we're working with the five, we need to have a look at where are our unhealthy attachments? What are the things on the outside that we're using as our sources of fulfillment, our sources of happiness? Where are we being hedonistic? And where do we need to find more authentic ways to develop happiness? So when we're practicing the pose that's associated with this card, which is chair pose, or Utkatsasana, apologies, which can also translate to not just chair pose, but it also translates to awkward pose. And in all honesty, it's one of the poses that for many, many years, I hated this pose. I had an aversion to this pose. I was like, this pose just feels so funky in my body. I don't like it. I don't want to practice it. And during my teacher training, I overstretched my shoulder, and I then had the conversation with the head teacher, and I said, you know, well, my practice obviously needs to change so that I can allow my shoulder to heal, but I also don't want to create stagnance in the body in that space either. You know, what could my practice look like? And she laughed and she said, well, you can practice your favorite pose, because she was very well aware of my aversion to chair pose. And at first I thought she was actually joking. And I said, you're not being serious, right? And she said, no, I'm being very serious, because that pose is something that's still going to maintain mobility in the shoulder without impacting the overstretch that you've already got. Choose nuts, she wasn't wrong. And I practiced chair pose. As awkward as I was in my pose, it provided that mobility, it provided enough rest and restoration in the joints and the ligaments that I needed in that shoulder to allow it to heal, but I was still maintaining mobility, so I wasn't creating stagnance in that part of the body. So I found a newfound respect for this pose that I've always been like, I don't like this pose. I was like, okay, I get the point of this pose now. So when we're looking at our attachments, we need to look at it from the perspective of how are these attachments creating awkwardness for us, creating discomfort for us. Because if we do hold chair pose for a good minute, the body's going to be like, well, what are you doing? Like, this doesn't feel great. We're causing suffering in the body. And for me, I suffered through my chair pose for many years until I was like, oh, this pose is actually now serving a purpose. So when you're practicing your chair pose, there's two things to explore here. We're exploring what are the things in life that are causing discomfort, and are those things are they perhaps things that I'm clinging to and that I'm clutching to, those attachments that are causing discomfort and dis-ease in the body. The other component is, as we take the arms up in that pose, we can ask the question, what do I need to release and let go of? What are the things that I'm holding onto that I can actually let go? And also, as you bring the arms up, ask the question, what am I clutching to? What am I holding onto? And by holding on, we kind of pull down on the muscles like this, and we actually create discomfort. So feel how things feel in the body, in the arms, and coming up into the shoulders and up here. And have you got ease in this pose, and are you reaching up to let go? Or are you reaching up to clutch and cling to something? Have you got almost like a pull forward motion where you're pulling towards the self in that pose? Or is it more of an upward motion where it's actually a release that you're getting? So working with the Five of Pentacles, we're exploring what are our attachments and how are we creating discomfort and dis-ease within ourselves and our life by having these attachments. And when we bring the arms up into that pose and we kind of settle down into the pose fully, we question, have I got a sense of stability and ease? Or is perhaps I'm feeling weighed down and pushed down by all these things that I'm attaching myself to? Where is there sources of discomfort in the body by holding that pose? Because chair pose is very much a full body workout, if you will. It's a full stretch in the body that we're getting. We're engaging a lot of different muscles, we're engaging a lot of different parts of the body. So explore what's going on in the body in that pose. How are you coming into that pose and taking those arms up? Like I said, have you got more of a pull back and trying to pull things towards me? Or are you actually kind of releasing and allowing things to let go? We don't want to cause afflictions. one of the predominant purposes behind a consistent yoga practice is to release those afflictions, to let go of those attachments that are causing us suffering. Because if we rely on that inconsistent supply of our favorite juice from the grocery store, at some stage we're going to be unhappy. Either we drink too much of the juice and we're like, ugh, I can't have another glass of that juice because that's just nasty now, I've had too much. Or the juice gets taken off the market and you're like, where's my fix? You know, where's my juice, man? Like, give it back to me. And so we create an aversion towards the company that makes the juice. We're like, you know, well, you guys suck. You know, you've taken my juice away from me, and we maybe perhaps throw a little bit of temper tantrum. So exploring the 5, explore your things that are challenging you within the material realm. So perhaps you're in a job where your boss is just an absolute nightmare to work for, and you're like, I really should probably find something else. But, you know, what if there isn't anything else? So I'm clinging to this unhealthy and diseased experience because I don't know that there's anything else past there. I'm clutching to it. I'm causing an attachment to it. Same goes for relationships. Same goes for thought patterns, behaviors, addictions. So what are the things that we are unnecessarily clinging to, and what diseases are they causing for us? What challenges are they bringing to us? And coming into your awkward pose, ask the question, how are these things making awkwardness in my life? How are they making me feel awkward? How is it, you know, socially I'm clinging to all these unhealthy relationships, and it's maybe making me awkward in relationships that are healthy. So really explore the different components of the Five of Pentacles, the things that are challenging you, the things that you're attaching yourself to and that you're clinging to. And are you actually coming up and letting those things go and finding relief in that pose? Or are you kind of doing that pull down, pull back motion where it's like, ooh, you know, I need to hold on to these things. So pay attention to how your body is responding in the pose as you're working through and processing different attachments. And look at simple things. Your favorite juice, your favorite chocolates, your favorite restaurants, your favorite person. Are those just hedonistic, externalized sources of happiness that are eventually going to come to an end? And if those things did come to an end, how are you going to react and respond to that? What is that going to do to you? So we can't have externalized attachments. So I encourage you to, if you haven't already, go back and have a look at the Four of Pentacles and the discussion on non-attachment and what that looks like and how we can practice that. And then come back into your 5 and bring those lessons of non-attachment into your 5 of Pentacles to understand how can I navigate these challenges that are in front of me of my juice is no longer being sold in the grocery store. So what am I going to do now? And maybe drink some water. Okay. So work with your pose, work with the 5 and explore those different components too. What are the things that are causing, where am I causing myself undue suffering, undue discomfort? And if I'm feeling awkward in my pose, why? And what adjustments do I need to make to alleviate that discomfort and that awkward feeling? As always, please leave your thoughts and your comments. This has been a great exploration on the 5 of Pentacles. You'll find that as we move into the 6, we're going to be exploring, you know, when we do practice non-attachment, and we do practice that sense of selflessness that comes with non-attachment, we can actually see the beautiful components that can offshoot from that in the 6. So I'll catch you in that video. Looking forward to it.